Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Logical, Plausible, Probable. I'm your host, John Maddox, and tonight we're having another stream you just won't want to miss. If you got what it takes, click that link, or prepare yourself, for this arena is not for the weak. Now, let the mental combat begin, but always make sure your arguments are LPP.
What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining me late night. It's 6 minutes to midnight. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of late night fun here, and I'll get to release a little bit of my pent-up humor at some of the atheist stuff that's been going on since my debate the other night. I need to start debating more, because it really fascinates me how you can read comments like over on MDD, and the direct contradiction to reality. It's just off the charts, folks. It really cracks me up. I may have to read some comments from the debate the other night. But actually, a very fantastic compilation was made by Big Bad Mama. And she did it because she thinks it showcases how I'm such a complete, jerk and whatnot. I think it's hilarious. And well, it showcases that my action, the way I address some of these Evo atheists in debates, is 100% justified. But I'll let the audience, decide for yourselves. Before I get into that, though, what's up to everybody? The one and only Doki Doki Bible Club, the perpetual slinger of memberships, super stickers, and overall sports you all things YouTube channels, is in the house. What's up, man? Appreciate you so much, as always. Sea Science Film Labs is here. We got Pok you. Interesting. Let's see who else is here. Gamers, what's going on? I think I saw Purosity Gold was here. Hey, what's up? How you doing? And I know some other folks are joining. Hopefully people will bounce on over from Standing for Truth channel. He wrapped up another interesting discussion. It's last couple of days have been interesting. For those who didn't see it, I was able to live stream from Centennial Park for that debate last night, and I'm planning on making that during the day, but making kind of that my spot to do some live stream interviews / real-time debates, like I said, that will be live streamed. And this was a picture of my setup with that is not a backdrop, ladies and gentlemen. That is actually the full-scale replica of the Greek Parthenon here in Centennial Park in Nashville, Tennessee. And I thought it looked pretty freaking epic. And lighting came on in perfect timing. It was excellent. And I had a great time doing the debate there right up until the time that the sprinklers turned on. And I ended up getting soaked and having to grab gear and get the heck out of Dodge before all my hardware would have been ruined. But thankfully was able to survive. And other than being soaking wet, was able to escape without any damage. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. And ladies, folks, I want you to pay close attention. And then in seriousness, actually, I'm going to do a poll. Let's put a poll in the side chat, and don't vote until you've watched this video, okay? But let's see. Let's do a poll of. Okay, did this video prove I'm a jerk? Let's go yes, no. I don't know if I should do multiple options. Yeah, we just yes or no. Actually, let's do. Sure. Okay. All right. So poll is about to hit. Now remember, do not vote until you've got a chance to watch this. Okay. So Big Mad Mama has edited together a compilation of some of my interactions with Evo atheists in debates, which I say I really appreciate her doing this, because I've thought about doing something similar to this, but she did it for me. So we'll see what happens. All right. So this compilation, just prepare yourselves, and it culminates with I think a pretty good zinger that I had last night towards Atheist Jr., but I'll let you guys tell me what you think. Here we go. Okay, so I don't mean to be a jerk, but your ignorance is stunning on what is going on in biological
creationist. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt.
Okay, well, perhaps you should go use Google, and you'll be able to find the same research that I did, not from creationist researchers, but from institutions such as Cambridge, MIT, Stanford, and many.
They all disagree with you on evolution, the Big Bang, and basically all the global warming, basically all the things that you believe in.
Okay, then you need to go research basic biology if you're going to argue that it is not reasonable for a intelligent agent to be required.
Could you give some evidence that an intelligent creator is required?
Okay, apparently you haven't been listening to the thing I'm saying. Okay.
You haven't presented any good evidence for one.
I haven't been. You're trying to make me have to
prove not
God, and I am suggesting. I'm literally bringing things forth that you don't even understand and have never even researched. Okay, so do you even understand how the syntax, semantics, and pragmatics works in DNA? Yes or no?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by those terms because those are not terms used in biology as much. Those are kind of abstractions.
Okay, so I guess you actually haven't read as many papers as you think you have. So, and the reason the reason I'm asking you if you actually have any knowledge of biology, in spite of what you keep claiming, I don't know. Do you actually know how?
Is there an argument?
Yeah, there is. We're studying stage. Do you know how a gene is?
I'm not going to answer any more do you know questions because it's a waste of time. Show me the argument. Like I know more than you about literally everything. So just tell me the argument.
Okay, so I think we need to turn this back to a basic biology lesson in the context of.
Well, you still haven't given an argument yet.
Okay, Tom. So you can just sit here in denial, and I don't have to go along with your position of going with a majority. I'm putting forth whether or not there is reasonable conclusions for intelligent design. So,
yes,
in spite of your stunningly ignorant denial,
I'm ignorant isn't an argument. What is the argument?
If you'll stop interrupting me, I'll actually finish the sentence.
I've been waiting for like 15 minutes, and you haven't said anything yet. Like, where's the argument?
Tom, is it your opinion that
what is my opinion an argument now? Like, what is the argument? Say like premise one.
I'm having a discussion, okay?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to
listen, Tom. I don't have to follow your structure.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to understand the context.
I'm not your little boy over here.
That's right. You need to actually phrase the sentences in a way that they make sense to the person you're having a conversation with. And right now, I can ask you like, what is your favorite color? But it's not relevant to the conversation. So you need to explain your argument. Make an argument that is relevant to the conversation, so I can understand.
Okay, we're gonna have to go to a response and rebuttals. Otherwise, I'm done with this conversation because I'm not somebody who doesn't even know what my end point is, and obviously doesn't have enough knowledge of biology to actually even have a reasonable conversation about this. That actually speaks to how complicated it is and why the probability of non-controlled chemical functions and executions and processes being the result of. I mean, that's a joke, man. To actually think that you can think that all you want, and you talk about living in imaginary land. That is living in the imaginary land of.
Yes, it's a hypothesis. That's how hypotheses work. The difference is that a hypothesis of an imaginary being doing it, which we have no basis of, versus a hypothesis of a probabilistic natural process, which means at least it has some probability of doing it. The some probability is better because it actually has some demonstrable capabilities in the real world, whereas the imaginary being has none. Like saying that it was designed by a designer is no different than saying it was designed by a magical pixie unicorn.
I mean, I would say, first off, if you don't think I made an argument against evolutionary theory, then I'm guessing you just are ignorant about evolutionary theory. Is that, do you know anything about it? I'm not really sure what kind of a question that was. I guess the complete and utter fascinating ignorance of the talking point just spewed by my opponents. So I literally explained one of them to you, which obviously went over your head. Did you listen to a word that I said, or did it just fly over your head? So were you paying attention at all during my opening?
I mean, yes, I've been paying attention to you.
Okay, so are you suggesting that you should fly over to the Royal Society and tell them that's not a literal code? Okay, so I'm just going to be very direct and say that, godless, I don't know how you put engineer at the second part of your name, because if you, number one, your level of ignorance on this topic is so mind-bending. I do not know how you actually think you're making a remotely coherent separation of these things. Okay, so obviously you have never researched abiogenesis because as of right now, the greatest number of base paired nucleotides they've managed to get to hook together without enzymes is 21. Okay, let me dumb it down for you then. Are you suggesting that something that is not feasible in a lab is more likely to occur in an uncontrolled, violent environment? So I'm not really sure how you can claim that what we're discussing does not have direct relevance to evolution. We're actually going directly to the core of evolution, not being distracted by the fluffy crap that people such as yourself love to focus on without actually addressing the root cause. I mean, are you comprehending what I'm saying here? Okay, so obviously you got a live chat from somebody that you're reading that was trying to BS your way through this one. The epigenetics, it is your claim that epigenetics are just fully understood and a component of evolutionary theory and is not causing any kind of negative damage to the dogma. You obviously don't actually research any of this stuff. It's fascinating to me that you have this many people that follow you and your level of knowledge is so low, and you're sitting there spewing these talking points that are so debunked. It's mind-bending. Bro, because for people like you that try to make that assertion, I literally have a Google Drive folder that's publicly accessible. You can go on my channel. It says for the annoying people, and literally every paper in there is secular. Well, my opponent obviously didn't listen to a word that I said the entire night. He has nothing but standard talking points that he is on complete repeat for, and things such as he's talking about, oh, we've seen new genes and new functions come to existence. Yeah, what he's talking about is the modification of an existing complete gene.
I apologize that multiple structure components to a compound sentence are going over your head. Maybe you should take off your beanie.
No. Because DNA can do this on its own, which we've demonstrated with the algae.
You're using the we've already established that the genomes or the algae weren't creating new function. They were turning on and off pre-existing function.
Established that it does have new function. You just said it was new function.
Dude, you said extracellular matrix. Oh my god. Okay,
you said yes to me.
No,
we've been on this.
You wanted to talk about, ladies and gentlemen,
this
is hilarious. These guys are doing such a hilarious dance and dodge.
And we only have a couple minutes left.
James, you said we're going to Q&A. This is hilarious.
Notice that we haven't been laughing at our opponents.
I just wanted to say, notice that me and Taylor haven't been laughing in a mocking way at our opponents the whole debate. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would say that the evidence has been presented that I do not have much tolerance for ridiculous Evo atheists who continue to state incredibly stupid things and then expect that I should just like acquiesce to their stupidity and like just tolerate them and then not point out the fact in the middle of a debate that my opponent is being a complete moron and doesn't understand the points that are being argued while simultaneously claiming that I'm the one who doesn't understand something. I mean, it's just amazing, folks. I really don't know how. I just don't know how these conclusions are reached. And I mean, why? I guess this just directly correlates with the whole woke sissy boy, soy boy environment that we currently live in. It's like grown men come to engage in mentis pugnum, and that's mental combat in Latin, and then expect that they should be treated with kid gloves while they are attempting to showcase me as some brainwashed, God of the Gap, ideology spewing, uneducated, unintelligent theist over here who just doesn't even comprehend things, doesn't understand evolutionary theory, doesn't understand, insert talking point. They're there to convince everybody that that's my position. But then when I reverse the script and showcase to the world that they don't have a clue what they're talking about, while simultaneously telling everybody, all of their followers, that any argument other than theirs is false, that somehow that's me being out of line. I mean, I just don't get it. But anyway, I'm intrigued to see how this goes out. So far, oh wow, I must have the atheists will claim that I'm in an echo chamber, because right now the leading response is, no, you are too nice. Okay, well, a couple votes for no, yes, biggest jerk on YouTube. Okay, looking forward. Okay, let's see. Let me see how this turns out. I'm looking forward to this. Toki says, you're the worst, John, because you crush atheist hopes and dreams of a fantasy world. Well, I do try. But in all seriousness, Big Bad Mama left a comment, told me he's doing this video. I went and checked it out, and I just appreciate the compilation, because while from their perspective, it's from the atheist perspective, it just proves that I'm a jerk. I think it's does the opposite and just showcases that I give no quarter, which is kind of ironic, because in the debate I had with Godless Engineer, I actually stated that at the beginning of my opening statement. And I said that I was giving notice to all atheists that anybody I met in mental combat in the future would be given no quarter, because I view them as my intellectual enemy. And if they are willing to enter the arena, that there will be no quarter given. And like, hey, let's go for the victory, because I'm not here to placate you. I'm here to emerge victorious. And I still understand why the Evos don't seem to be able to grasp that point. It's, just being. Let's see. Michael says, I said, yes, you're a jerk sometimes, but it's okay. I don't trust people who are perfect angels. Well, yeah, that's the other thing that I find very interesting about the atheists. They're like, if a theist / Christian is not super duper nice and just placates me in every way that I want, then that means that their religion is false. Or, a person who calls himself a Christian was a jerk to me one time, therefore God does not exist. It's like, have you thought that one through at all? Oh, wait. It's kind of like my opponents last night, who actually were like taking the position that if a person without a supposed credential issued an argument, it didn't necessarily have standing and the argument was not valid and sound. But if a person who did have the piece of paper, i.e. PhD, whatever, issued the exact same argument, then it did have validity and soundness. I'm just like, have you thought that one through at all? I mean, seriously, the exact same argument, the substance of the argument depends on who is saying it. If I'm sorry. If you actually either A, do not grasp that, or B, do grasp it and say it anyway, you are either a just complete moron, or you are gambling that the audience is so dumb and so brainwashed they're not going to realize the direct contradiction that is. And especially given the fact in the opening statement, Taylor, aka Snake Was Right, had literally said that somebody like myself who doesn't have the PhD in biology or whatever shouldn't even be questioning the status quo consensus of academia because I don't have the credentials. It's like, oh boy, we are really, really jumping the shark, man. That's kind of why I decided to stop. I may have to find those timestamps of that whole piece from the other night debate, because that was just cracking me up. And I man, let me see. I wonder if I can search the transcript, and that would be interesting. Let's see, what would I have said there? Okay. Wait, only 5. What the heck? Where is this thing? Oh wait, I think I might have found it. Okay. This was in the Q&A. Let's see if this is what I'm looking for here. This may be it. Let's see. Okay, let me share screen, and we will see if this is the section I'm thinking about here.
All right, this one. Appreciate your question as well. Bitter Truth says, skeptic of evolution. May I know both of your guys' educational background, if you don't mind?
For them or us or everyone?
I think they were saying.
Well, they said skeptics of evolution.
Oh.
I mean, I'm a layman personally. I mean, so I don't really think that's important in these debates, but that's just me.
Well, hang on. You don't think it's important? Didn't you guys specifically talk about in your opening statements how if you don't have the education in these topics, that you can't really have a challenge to the conventional paradigm?
I did.
I didn't say that.
I did, because if you're challenging a widely held consensus from the experts, then you're going to probably need some expertise, because otherwise you're at very high danger at Dunning-Kruger.
If you're not part of the establishment, that's the translation here. If you're not part of the establishment, then you can't challenge the establishment, because you only can challenge the establishment if you're part of the establishment. Oh man, you can't make it up. Let's continue. This gets funny.
Right. So is it your position that there's no people that do have the supposedly requisite degrees who are also making very similar arguments? Do they not exist?
No, there's people that answer in Genesis.
Dunning-Kruger? Are they all those? Are they the only ones?
Yeah, and they're better qualified to challenge the consensus.
Okay, so if let's just hypothetically, if they make the exact same argument as I do, does that negate the validity and soundness of the argument based on who delivers it?
No.
It would be just as bad.
So what the hell? No. We're talking about from a logical perspective. Does the qualifications of the individual making an argument have any relevance to whether or not the argument is sound and valid?
No, but it does have relevance for for us being able to have a conversation about it, us knowing that each other knows what they're talking about. That's why these people.
I'm not, basically a translation, I'm not even going to consider the soundness or the validity of the argument and the positions unless I have predetermined that you have the credentials that would be necessary in order for your argument to be sound or valid. I mean, oh, it's too good. I just, the fact they're not grasping how ridiculous this is just blowing me away.
Or hired because they're better qualified.
Oh, okay. So
So
that doesn't
what-
have so it doesn't have anything to
get to
do
move
with
on.
whether or not it's sound or valid, correct?
This one coming in from, want to say, folks, so sorry. YouTube is glitching. Someone sent in a
It is so obvious that Taylor did not understand the point that was being made. I mean, it's like not getting it at all. AJ, I think, in fairness, was getting it. He's like, let's move on. Because I'm pretty sure he was recognizing, like, oh, crap. This is making us look kind of dumb. And this is bad. Let's keep going. And of course, in fairness to James, this said what my taking advantage of the stupidity of my opponents had to be curtailed slightly and get back into the questions. But that was cracking me up. I still haven't gotten over the fact that he made that argument. Let's see. Michael said something here a minute ago. I was going to share. Where'd that go? Oh, what's up? Bread of Life's in the house. Bread of Life's been doing some great streams this past week. I wish you go check out her channel. Getting some good atheists over there to have good conversations on a variety of topics. Oh, looks like the creator of the video I shared earlier, Big Bad Mama, is in the house. Good to see you. Appreciate you doing that edit and letting me get some entertainment out of that one. Let's see. Michael says, I'm actually going to discussions with two people right now that are very similar to this, where they can't grasp it because they're so programmed to think a specific way. Yeah, it really is amazing how so many of them, it's like anything that contradicts the status quo or challenges the status quo is just incomprehensible to them. Like, well, I know that can't possibly be true, because if that's true, then my worldview is false. Therefore, it must be false. And I'm not even going to consider what is happening. I can't do it. I can't do it. Dog says, it looks like Snake is eating more lime mammal. I don't know what that is. Psychology, just like anything else, is basically recording patterns and then trying to produce some practical use out of understanding them. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So, let's see here. What was I looking for? Purity Gold, boom. He literally called AJ Dunning-Kruger. Man, I just don't know how these guys... folks, I'm really not understanding how so many of the atheists that are like, audience members. Oh, wow. I didn't see this. There's a $200 super chat over on MDD. That's awesome. I'm glad we were able to bring some money to get old James for that. Okay, so let me share this screen again if y'all want some entertainment. So I'm going to read comments from the debate. There's so much good stuff here. This one guy named Wolfos, he must have done 50 comments. I don't know how many it actually was, but it's tons. It's hilarious. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Folks, let me know if you can see these. After I zoom in. Ooh, that's too far. After I zoom in, let us know they're coming up on the screen for you to be able to read. I may need to go. Let's do that. Okay. So, Hal Novillamila. Snake's opening was excellent. No fluff and straight to the point. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the majority of Snake's opening statement was about why creationism / intelligent design is false, when it's literally evolution on trial. Okay, evolution is on trial, not creation, not intelligent design. It's evolution on trial. And AJ did this as well to a slightly lesser extent, but it's like, it's all about why a different thing is wrong, not why yours is true. I mean, I don't understand how that makes any sense, but whatever. So, well, that's one of Wolfos' first ones, but it's like, I'm not going to read that one. It's not really relevant. Okay, so Peter Ritzenzibzida, I would like to know if there are any fields of scientific research that John regards as competent and effective, even though their findings may challenge challenge certainty of his religious beliefs, or do his beliefs come first and only then the potential validity of such fields? Or if evolutionary biology isn't proper science, then how is it being conducted differently from other disciplines that are? Okay, so I'm a big fan of physics and chemistry, microbiology, cellular biology, quantum biology. I mean, a plethora of the hard sciences I think are fascinating. And in general, the vast majority of what is being discovered and discussed, I think is fantastic. The only thing I have minor challenges to are things, i.e., evolutionary theory from the macro view, and things like abiogenesis. I mean, okay, let's think about abiogenesis for a second. And I'm going to quickly debunk the standard talking point from the atheists. Like, if we think that creationism is true, therefore it's going to stop science. Okay, I operate from the perspective that life requires an intelligent agent. So instead of us wasting ridiculous amounts of time trying to figure out how something that's not plausible to have happened through undirected process, and like just using all sorts of genius brain power, trying to figure out like how can we make something that's not possible, we would be operating from the standpoint that, hey, it will necessitate our intelligent agency. So let's focus all that brain power on either A, trying to create, we know it is necessary, so let's try and build something from scratch. I think that would be super cool. And I'm not saying it's not being done, but that's not the primary focus, right? And beyond that, we just look at how do we reverse engineer this stuff, operating from the mental perspective that it was engineered. Like, how much greater would that accelerate our discoveries and our understanding how something works versus trying to figure out how something randomly came together, and or operating from the mental perspective that that's how it must have come together versus being intentionally placed in that position. I don't understand how anybody thinks that would not accelerate discovery and would somehow halt discovery at large. It's pretty funny. Okay. Let's see what the replies were to that. If there was anything. Whoever, I don't know how to pronounce that name. No, he doesn't have the courage to face facts that make him uncomfortable. Okay. Well, I love all these people who like don't have conversations with me, claim that I'm so afraid. Okay. Everything I've heard BBG say so far has directly contributed to death of brain cells. At least John can sort of stay on topic and string together meaningful sentences. Well, that's interesting they say that, because AJ claimed that I wasn't being able to do that. I don't know where that came from. Okay. Coffee Mom. Unfortunately, the interrogators don't understand evolution well enough to have relevant questions, yet have incredibly strong beliefs that they not only understand, but have valid criticisms that are better explanations for the facts. They have incredibly strong that they not only understand, but have okay. I think they might have messed up their words there, but it's always amazing how supposedly I don't understand evolutionary theory because I disagree with it. You disagree with this, therefore you don't understand it. Versus I do understand it, and that's why I disagree. Like, it's amazing how people don't know this. Okay. Oh, look at this. Well done, AJ and Snake's solid performance. Really frustrates me that BBG and Maddox look so smug and are so confident, unaware of how stupid they sound. It's right. You're right. I just don't. Oh, man, I don't understand it. And look at this. Aid Buctos. The delusion is mind-blowing, isn't it? This smugness seems to be a symptom of them trying to believe their own lies. The flat earthers are the same. A bunch of loons, in my opinion. Shiv Tan response. Such is the religious condition. And look at there's Atheist Jr. Thank you. It's amazing, the Atheist Fantasyland projection complex. How what was on full display the other night is being projected over to moi. It's truly amazing. Oh, look at this guy. Maddox doesn't understand that artificial selection works on a much faster timescale than natural selection. You wouldn't find a Shih Tzu having diverged so dramatically from its ancestor in time to see the artificial selection. Also, Maddox is such a coward for always running away from his own position. Funnily enough, that's exactly what the Dover trial was about. Creationists masquerading as skeptics who were just critiquing evolution, but all their critiques were flawed, and implied creationism. Maddox can dodge, but he can't hide. Okay, again, for this dumbass, the debate was about evolution on trial. Okay, so that's the topic. So it's not dodging, running, and weaving to not be debating something that the debate is not about. I don't understand how this, like, atheists on YouTube seem incapable of comprehending this. Like, unless it is, unless this is the, I'm not gonna go this rabbit hole. Okay, real quick, what's going on in chat? So Big Bad Mama says, no, LPP, you were raised in a religious house where belief in evolution was discouraged. Okay, so growing up, I don't recall a single time that my parents ever told me evolution was false. I don't think it was even discussed. So, yeah, we can just negate that talking point. Again, amazing assumptions from Evos that, again, if you somehow disagree with something, you must have been brainwashed as a child. Yeah. Let's see. Adam Chisholm. This is the least cumulative biology knowledge I've ever seen on an anti-evolution team. Maddox was at least trying, kinda. It was a lot of cherry picking. Peachy, though, I'm convinced is either a troll or has never taken a biology course, or perhaps most likely both. Well, I don't know about that, but oh man. Okay. Snapchat. This is the again. This is with the atheists who never seem to pay attention. Why is creationism never on trial? It's not strong enough to qualify as a legitimate contender. Okay, dude. I have personally defended I don't think I've done creation as a title, but intelligent design. I have done multiple debates, specifically where I was defending intelligent design being required. But then atheists never seem to act like those exist. So I wonder if that's a result of when, in those debates, such arguments are put forth that their entire worldview is negated. And they try to, erase this reality from their memory, and therefore, push delete on the fact that I personally have engaged in those exact topics. So it's like, well, which never happened. Well, I know I saw a debate with this guy who's debating right now on the exact topic, but I must erase this. Otherwise, I won't be able to spew my BS talking points in comments and try to act like a cool guy. All right, let's see what the replies are. Oh, Big Bad Mama there. Big Bad Mama's a guy. Exactly. Wow, Big Bad Mama. Really? Have you been suffering from memory erasure of the just, troubling so many Evo atheists on YouTube? Wow. Let's see. Creationism is an unnecessary position to take. You can take evolution as a given or be skeptical of evolution and say you don't know how the earth and the creatures formed, whether it's any particular competing models of old earth creations beyond. Okay. All right. James has asked why he sees to consider debating the topic, so maybe one day it will be, but so far I've never seen it done except in the Dover trial where it objectively lost. Really? I mean, how many times has SFT, Sal, so many people have debated young earth on MDD? Seriously, what universe do these people live in? Seriously, it blows me away every time. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Any good comments here? Where did Wolfus go? Okay, here we go. Cam says, LMFAO, Maddox had their head spinning. Need John to debate more often. I died laughing when he said, I apologize that multiple components to a compound sentence are going over your head. Maybe you should take off your beanie. Absolute gold. Well, let's see. Oh, here we go. Cymac. Maddox. Even if the genome is code-like, it does not make it directly analogous to software coding. One is clearly demonstrably created by humans, while the other is not. One is organic, one is synthetic. What a waste of time. Okay. Again, I don't know how many times it has to be explained. The fundamentals of information and code theory and communication theory are applicable. The exact same principles are applicable to the genetic code versus a human created code. The exact same logic rules have to be in place, and the base necessities have to be accounted for. We know what is required for them to be in existence in all other cases other than the ones you claim are just natural codes. This is the whole point that's being made. Okay. The whole point is not the whole point, but a major component of that point is that we're not just talking about analogies. We're talking about literal comparisons. The exact same principles of information, communication, and code theory are being applied. It's not a freaking analogy. It's a literal comparison. You can't apply code theory to something that's not code. Okay. I don't know how many times that's to be explained to Evo atheists, but this is pretty basic. And atheist scientists agree, like, accept this. They just think that something like signal theory can answer the question, but not that you don't have to answer the question. It's amazing how many times this has to be said. Zombie Llama says, as usual, that was painful to watch. I couldn't even finish it. Both sides did a terrible job, and BGG and Maddox were so smug about it. They must be taking lessons from Ben Shapiro. Well, I mean, I do like some things about Shapiro. There are a lot of things I don't like about him. Let's see. Okay, it's Little PP's defense mechanism to act smug when he's saying something objectively stupid. That's why he's always acting smug. Oh man, no. Generally, my smugness stems from the fact that my opponent is telling me I don't know what I'm talking about when they have just admitted that they don't understand what I'm talking about. I mean, it's like, hang on. So you don't know what I just said, but I'm the one that doesn't know what I just said. I mean, oh, it's too good. Oh my goodness, animated place. I mean, Maddox did literally mention Shapiro himself. Don't even get me started with the after show that he did. Oh wow. I'm talking about James Shapiro, not Ben Shapiro. We're talking about a guy who's probably almost 50 years older than Ben Shapiro. Two totally different people. One is a PhD in biology and conducted amazing amounts of research in specifically in prokaryote biology and genetics and such. The other is a political commentator. It's astonishing yet again how an atheist doesn't comprehend the point that they're making, but then claims that the other person is the one who doesn't know what they're talking about. It's too good. Okay, let's see here. Marvin Hennisberg, bad debate. The opening on the evolution side was very strong, but the arguments in the open debate were just a waste of time. Arguing the most basic and simple concepts, just so the creationists wasting time to avoid all the evidence for evolution. A pure breed of small dog can be artificially selected for size. Every generation you select the largest ones and they keep going, getting bigger. Yes, but everybody recognizes there's caps. Okay. Even it was so funny earlier today, Putting Brain in the Gang tried to very briefly address this, and the things that were coming out of their mouths, Leo, and I think AJ and Snake were there for a while. All those guys. I mean, some of the stuff they were talking about was hilarious. It was cracking me up. They were claiming not to understand. I mean, the way they were describing things that I said were so wrong. It again showcased beyond doubt that either they're lying or don't understand and cannot comprehend the concepts that are being put forth, therefore, and just dismiss things out of right without even taking the time to understand it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Of course, unless you're suffering from Droid C, AFLPC, AHLD, and I think a lot of these guys are also suffering from one. It's a little bit more of an outlier. I don't talk about it as much, but it's the ALMS. So that's the atheist little man syndrome, and I think it's gaining a lot of traction with a lot of the YouTube atheists, the ALMS, and I probably need to start talking about that a little bit more. There needs to be more awareness of how ridiculous it's getting. Let's see. Okay, evolution is a theory based on evidence. Creationism is a story to explain what isn't known. The problem with creationism is that if all life was created at the same time, then there should be fossils of every living thing in every layer of sediment. What is found at the bottom layers? Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. It's recognized that fossilization is rare, and it's admitted by that camp, actually all camps, so they wouldn't expect to see every possible type in the fossil record. I mean, that's how they claim why like they don't see more transitional forms as well. Fossilization is very rare. So again, we have another example of a person. And look at the. I'm gonna guess the icon they've got is a freaking chimpanzee thinking in a thinking pose. Yeah. Okay. We'll just assume that they don't realize how they're contradicting stuff. It's amazing. Fossil fish leg. Maddox has no clue of what he is even on about. He's winging it. He knows nothing. Well, I mean, I guess I've just been called out. I mean, it's clearly obvious, folks. I was just making everything up. It's horrible. I'm so bad. Okay, so did I see Atheist Jr. here? Let's see. It's Atheist. Oh, Atheist Jr. is still in the side chat. Interesting. All right, let's continue on here. BG, just from Wolfos, BGG holding that look like he has made a point for him. He has had a point made for him by his Giss Gallop partner, but to the well-educated in this specific topic, it looks like thick incredulity. Sorry, BBG, there have never been any zingers in any debates that give anyone the right to even think they've won. Your dog question is poorly constructed and shows you have never been dug deeper than Kittenhoven of Discovery Institute or ID website for any. I mean, okay, wow. Okay, let's see. Where was that? Oh, by the way, Wolfos, look at this. He's like he comments and then does all these comments to himself, like responses to himself to create these crazy threads. There's another one. I think most of these. Yep, here we go. A whole bunch more. Let's see what this one is. Okay, this is where timestamp. This is where the negative position ramps up their incredulity, conflate, deflect, and start tangents into idiocy. Don't talk to us. It's still insulting. Wait for your after show. Then you can say winner, winner, chicken dinner. Until then, pay attention to the debate. Don't try to dumb it down for the audience. We wouldn't be here if we wanted simple garbage thrown at us. We could just sit in your live channel and listen if we wanted. We're here for intellectual exchange of ideas. The audience will decide if it's too complicated and do the research if it is. Pay attention to the debate. Maddox, you are bad at this. Okay, so making things understandable to the audience who are recognized as individuals who have likely not studied the topic and not necessarily gone into as much detail as the speakers. That's why they're the speakers and the other people are the freaking audience. Making sure something is well understood by the audience, it's kind of a fundamental of public speaking. You're usually trying to put it down on fifth grade level so that everybody can understand it and your points being made can't be misinterpreted, or at least you're trying to mitigate the amount of misinterpretation that can take place, and that the audience would be able to appreciate arguments that are being made. So yes, I shouldn't try to make sure that something is clearly understood. Yep. Okay. There we go. Native atheist. Evolution wins the day. Well, okay. Here we go. I won't read that one out loud. Fossil fish legs back. Christian side rolling out the idiots again. Maddox is insufferable, and as for his sidekick, he just isn't switched on. Okay. Here we go. Another one. John Smith. Why is it always the Christians who are smug and condescending? Sad to think they actually believe they're doing their God's work. Yuck. There's no hate like Christian love. Well, there's calling me out. It's totally right. This is a good one from, I cannot pronounce that name. To know who's right, you only need to look at the physiology of the debaters. The blob-shaped heads of science worshippers tell all. Yes, that's good. There we go. Okay, so this is the only one of Wolfos' comments that I got involved in. Okay, so listen, quote, the average height over the last 2,000 years has gone up by almost 2 feet. You are conflating all the statistics to shoehorn your point somewhere it will never fit. Okay. I respond a few down. All this or that questions are loaded questions, aren't the kind of questions honest debaters ask. Be a better person, Maddox. These two folks are intentionally trying to burn time with the most useless questions with intent to be as dishonest as possible. Neither of you know anything about the topic you are challenging. Repeating wrong things over and over doesn't make it right. And enough with the dog examples. We all okay. This question by Maddox shows he has no idea about this topic at all. Conflating everything in the same category with your analogy is just plain incorrect. And yet you try to justify your conclusion with a misunderstanding of the answers given. Feels like you're being dumb on purpose now. We can't make you understand, but AJ and Snake sure tried. You just failed to do so because of your presuppositions walking into this debate. I wouldn't platform you again until you can prove you are willing to enter the ring with any kind of evidence that isn't explained to the nth degree already by folks that are far more educated in any of the topics you brought up. And poor PPG might as well not show up. It would have been more effective than the incredulous facial expressions you gave in response to scientific fact you presented to you in an easy to understand way. Debating is obviously something you weren't prepared for. Okay. So here's my response. Dude, you seriously need to Google things before commenting. As I stated, during the Roman Empire, e.g., 2,000 years ago, the average height for a male was 5'4" to 5'5". That is not 2 feet as you claim. Also, we still have areas with that as average height, such as North Korea. Please stop claiming I don't understand something while simultaneously proving you either don't actually listen or are so brainwashed you don't ever question your talking points. His response, I stand corrected. Thanks. Then, I like this is the one you responded to. Got to let those other tirades stew for a bit. I respond as I'm watching the debate. So sure, I get stuff wrong, but I do watch and listen. And this whole debate was a joke with y'all as the punchline. Tossing your word salad out there was like accurate on every point. Wait, let me read. Tossing your word salad out there like it was accurate on every point was silly. And your lack of self-awareness is staggering. Incredulity isn't a good quality to have. Try to act like an honest interlocutor and admit when you do not know something. It's far more respectable. Okay. So here's my response to that. It's part of the reason we're having this stream right now. You make some pretty strong assertions about me being full of word salad. If you got the C.O. Jones, why don't I do a stream tonight and you come back that stuff up? His response, sorry, bub, I have a whole job I got to be at tonight. Plus, if that's what I wanted to do, I'd have been sitting where AJ and Snake were. But those two were who you were supposed to be debating. But you do you and have all the fun. I mean, okay, I'm going to wrap up with this here shortly because his comments go on and on. Sorry you don't understand the words you are salad tossing in there don't fit. Learn how to construct an actual argument instead of slapping the noodle against the wall. You don't even know how real debates work. When the insults fall out, Maddox be a better person. Maddox likes big words, but asks nonsense questions that are falsified while he asks them. I mean, it keeps going, folks. It is just, it's a never ender. I mean, look at the number of comments and the response to his own comments. Just, I'm getting so much entertainment out of this. It's really good. Okay. Let's, I'll stop short. Let me check out some comments. Yeah, Godzilla freak. Yeah, 2 feet. This guy has to be trolling. Well, that's what I thought. I mean, you got to remember, guys, a lot of the Evo atheists on MDB and elsewhere across YouTube, they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. They have never gone and investigated the surface level of the talking points they've been told. And then they think anybody who disagrees with the thing that they don't understand must be the one who doesn't understand it because they don't understand it. Therefore, how could somebody who doesn't believe it understand it? I mean, it's astonishing every time. Hillary's email says, dumb down the arguments, then the opponents can ask for clarification of details if they wish. Yep. Hillary's emails. I heard that he was questioned by police and no, I was not arrested for public disturbance. No. They were just asking what I was doing there late night with like a table, a light, computer hooked up, sitting there chilling by myself at, 10 o'clock or whatever time, 9, late night, 10 o'clock, whatever it was. And I think that some people had gotten scared because they were sitting above me. There was like, to my right was another little small, I don't know how you describe that, little micro courtyard thing. And they were sitting up high and somehow they didn't realize I was there. And I was being quiet when they sat down. When I started talking, I scared the crap out of them. So I'm wondering if they wouldn't told the police that I was there or something. And maybe the police just took it too seriously. But yeah, it got all worked out. It's no big deal. Yeah, Wolfos is seriously triggered. Yes, he definitely was. So Big Bad Mama says, "Good stuff, LPP." What was good? I'm not sure when that was. What that was in response to. Godzilla Freak says, "That doesn't even need investigation. It's just common sense. If we cut 2 feet off people today, they'd literally argue that they're transitional species." I mean, exactly. Well, I mean, their legs evolved at a different time. It was a devolution stage, but then later on they got them back. I mean, that would be kind of funny. Like, what if you can you imagine if a handicapped person who's like a paraplegic, or maybe had like a double amputee, like both their legs were cut off, but then they have a child that has legs. Like, that is proof of evolution beyond doubt from the fossil record. Look at this one. The parent, look at all these of the same species that didn't have legs, and look at these other ones that do have legs. I mean, obviously there were mutations that took place. And even though these other ones in the past didn't have legs, these ones that do have legs are just proof beyond all doubt of being transitional forms. It's good. Oh, gotcha. Big reading the comments. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. Let's see. Ernest Kobe says the evolution team should learn more about evolution. Oh, well, that's good. Let's see. I stopped sharing today. I think I covered most of the good ones. That's good stuff. Okay. Coming up on an hour. All right. Okay. I will open the stream for combo. People want to join for a short period of time, and then I'm calling it a night in 30 minutes. All right. So link is going in the side chat. All right. There we go. There it is. Gamers. Yeah, she was found in over 7 miles of crumbs to go through. All right, there we go. Rapture Countdown says, "Do you really expect the Devil's Can to be strong on honesty and integrity?" No, I don't. I think a lot of them do it purposely. Other ones are willfully ignorant. And then some are just lacking the brain power necessary to comprehend things from a big picture. Dan says, if you want to see, quote unquote, evolutionists in action, quote unquote, read Roger Lewin's book, Bones of Contention. It is hilarious. Pure Rusty Gold. Dunning-Kruger Jr. with friends like Snake. Who needs enemies? Yep. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. There's some things that are definitely gonna have to be clipped out of that debate. I mean, some of the stuff that came out of those guys and their responses to points were just so epic. It was hard for me to keep a straight face for the majority of that debate. I tried hard. Okay, so if Atheist Jr. is still here, he's welcome to come join and we can have a non-debate conversation. Let me zoom back out to normal. There we go. Yep, it's still in. He says he's inside chat, and whether or not he's like actually got his phone on or is actually listening is a different question. Let's see. Stats beat here. What's up, Bubblegum? How you doing?
Yo, just coming in for a little while. I was hoping the Atheist Judas will show up. Teach me some. Yeah, hoping he teaches. Well, mostly hoping Snake teaches me some of that evolution 101.
Well, I mean, I do think that you were going a little bit hard. I mean, because we've had this conversation in streams before, you know that I disagree with you on the whole dog wolf thing.
Yeah, I know. But I wasn't gonna hold back just because you were there.
No, I know, and I mean, I didn't attack you on it, but I mean, I don't think it's correct, and I think there's a lot of things that validate the point that still fall inside of, you know, the bigger model. But oh, hey, so apparently, Big Bad Mama, like, she doesn't agree with your positions, but likes your hair.
Well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I get.
Oh well, it looks like you have some fan boys and girls.
I
Bubblegum
do.
Gun is so cute. He needs to turn his cam on. Oh man. He's getting some fans. See, you just have to do one debate and get some groupies.
Actually, you know, I think most of my girls have come through my hair, but actually, me having long hair is kind of new, because I used to have like a military cut, because my dad was very military, so basically most of my life it was short. But when I did have like grown that super long, well, kind of long, girls did pay more attention to me. I don't know why. I don't like it. I'm just lazy.
So you grew your hair out to not get chicks?
I I'm just too cheap to pay for a haircut right now.
Okay. Oh yeah. So is that amazingness of California starting to catch up to you?
Oh, absolutely not. I still hate it here, but it's still better for me because I really don't have anywhere to go. I have family here.
Well, maybe if California is actually starting to suck and you're recognizing it sucks, maybe the clan should move and escape the madness that is California.
I would actually had the chance at one point, but I don't know. I guess I just gotten used to the crappiness. Like I think it'll just be the same anywhere I
Well,
move. Can't really-
that's what they're trying to brainwash you into thinking. That, like, this is just how it is everywhere when it's not. And I'm serious a question. So when was the last time you left California and like on a trip or whatever? And where did you go?
Oh man, that's like because originally I came from North Carolina, but that was like back in 2012. So it's been almost 10 years.
Okay, so you have not left California in 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And how old were you when you made this move?
I think I was 20. Okay, I think 22. I don't remember.
Hang on. So you're 32?
No, I'm 30. So I was probably, yeah, so I was probably like 18, I would say.
Okay. Big Bad Mama says California is awesome. Big Sur, Yosemite, etc. Yeah, well, there's awesome geography. There's also awesome things about California that are being completely obliterated by the moronic attitude and approach from Sacramento. I mean, it's destroying 30% of the food production in the United States over freaking smelt and like just completely moronic things that are blocking massive amounts of productivity. It's getting crazy.
Oh, yeah, especially with the truckers thing, they have like this new law that truckers have to go under like a bigger company, so you can't really have like independent truckers. So it's been like a whole kerfuffle about that because they can't go interstate, so they have to have like some sort of intermediate.
Oh no, I've been following that heavily. It's completely moronic, and it's obvious attempts to control the economy via proxy and leveraging their control. It's the same thing with somehow the United States government decided that you can either accept the EPA's standards on emissions and stuff, or you can accept California's version, which is even stricter, which is nuts. But there's a bunch of states have started to like, oh, we're gonna like follow whatever California does, like just by default. Well, the whole car thing on the internal combustion engine being banned and such, they have like by 2035, it's gonna be okay. There's no more internal combustion engines, but there's like stages, right? So I forget, it's like by 2026 or something. They want 30% of all the cars sold to be electric vehicles. And if you don't have it there, then every vehicle that gets sold is going to have a $20,000 tax added onto it. If 30% of the cars sold are not electric vehicles. And like all these states are like tacking on to that concept. It is moronic. Like California, you raging idiots. You don't have enough power right now. And you're going to like require everybody to be buying electric cars. They need to be charged from stations that don't generate enough power right this second. When you have like 3% of the vehicles are EVs. And you just want to like fast forward to 30, 50, 75, 100%. It's like you can't make this up.
Just add a touch liberals that live in this high society. We can't afford that. I barely can afford rent. Much less than an electric car.
Well, listen, if you just went out and dropped 70K, then you wouldn't have to buy gas. So that would pay for your rent.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to share this video because I was hoping Snake was gonna call me out on saying I can't read a phylogeny tree. Oh, here, I just want you to like share from like these 10 seconds from 245 to 255.
Actually, it's a how do you read evolutionary trees video. I've stopped playing like doing these stuff because every single time I do, I get a copyright claim every freaking time I share a video.
All right then.
It's so obnoxious.
All right, maybe I could just take a screen share, just like a picture. I just need one picture for people to see. Here, give me a second.
In the meantime, Godzilla Freak says, if we shut down all our natural gas plants and use hydro, we'll solve climate change. Then we won't die when the lakes dry like they do literally every year. Yeah. See, Gamer said something good a minute ago. Have you guys heard of David Berlinski? He's a mathematician who put the theory of evolution to shame. Yes, I have read his book and watched quite a few interviews with him. Yeah, he completely obliterates. He's like, okay, we're talking about the necessities for a whale to go from water to land. Yeah, once you just like start tracking the number of changes that have to take place in order for this to occur, it's just not even remotely plausible. It's complete jumping of the shark. Yep, there we go. How do you read evolutionary tree?
So yeah, I was hoping Snake was going to call me out, and I don't know how to read the evolutionary tree, because that picture I showed was the same picture. And in this video, they admit they don't know these animals. So they literally say, we're inferring these animals exist, these abstractions exist, because evolution is true. It literally says that in the video. And I was hoping Snake was going to call me out, like, I don't know how to read it. You don't know how to read a tree. And then I was going to use this video, like, they're using the same thing.
Well, there's a lot of issues with incomplete lineage sorting. There's massive amounts of inferences, assumptions that are required or based on, well, this is true, therefore we're going to force feed the data into. I mean, there's these giant gaping holes, but well, we've just.
Oh, you cut. I think you're on mute. Cut out.
Oh, dang it! I forgot what I was going to say. I said something and I forgot what it was. Let's see. Science Film Lab says, Atheist Jr., are you back from your Google search about the baboon? Yeah. Remains, yeah. Don't let your heart lock up, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Jackson Wheat has disappeared, and who else is gone? Jackson Rowe has also disappeared. I haven't seen him in a while. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I'm hoping he's not like in trouble with the law. I mean, he was transferring all those very deadly lizards across state lines and, charged with a felony. So I wonder if he's like banned from social media or something for a period of time on probation.
Well, he is a smuggler.
You know, I tell you what, for individuals who are so, adamant about, diversification and, biological diversity, all those kind of things, how come it's become a felony to like bring organisms to new places? I mean,
Well,
it's like,
well, I understand it because it's usually bad owners that ruin it for everybody. Because there was this problem with owners would bring big anacondas, and then after a while didn't want to take care of them, so they would just let them in the wild, and of course they're gonna have sexy time, and that became like a huge problem where like it became a pest, basically.
yeah. What's up, Dan? How you doing? Welcome to the stream.
Hey, John. Hey, Bubblegum. I heard you talking about Berlinski. He's one of my favorites. I like you. I read some of his books. My favorite, obviously, was The Devil's Delusion. Did you hear the story behind that book?
Yes.
Well, for the rest of the audience, it sold out in no time. It was published by Crown Forum, and the first printing just sold like hotcakes, and they refused to do a second printing. They could have made a lot of money. So obviously, nobody knows for sure, but speculation is they got a lot of pushback from some of these top evolutionists. Hey, we'll never publish with you again if that kind of thing. That's just speculation. So anyway, he couldn't understand it. He said he called the corporation, protested his head off, and didn't do any good. So then he went on basic books, and as far as I know, it's still a good seller. It was a brilliant book.
Yeah, he's I like him a lot because he just doesn't give any quarter,
None.
And it's just like, I'm gonna stop being all like, well, I understand where you're coming from. I disagree, but you have a valid point. It's like, no. You don't have a freaking valid point because this is not plausible from a mathematical perspective. And you guys want to gloss this over, but just because you want to ignore something doesn't make it go away, kind of thing. And obviously, I mean, I try to take a very similar approach.
On one of his interviews with, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
On one of his interviews with Peter Robinson, I think he did 3 with him so far, Hoover Institution.
Yep.
He made a comment about, Peter Robinson sort of confronted him, playfully about some of his vicious attacks. And he said, I wish I could word it the way he worded it. It's so funny. But he said, he talked about how much he really enjoyed poking his finger in their eye. If anybody hasn't watched the interviews of the Hoover Institution interviews with David Berlinski, you're really missing out on a lot of really fantastic commentary.
No, yeah. He gave no. It was good stuff. I get chuckles out of it. I actually watch every once in a while it pops up on my feed on YouTube, and I'll be like, I may just watch this again because, yeah, good entertainment.
They're on my speed dial. I've watched those things a bunch of times. There's so much information he conveys subtly that I didn't pick up the first few times. But he, he claims to be an agnostic, not an atheist. But then when he was confronted about that, you don't believe in God or anything. And he said, well, not yet. And he repeated that to make sure he understood.
Yeah, he was making a point that he's open-minded and is not just, categorically rejecting the premise, which is what is done, by a significant percentage of the folks. But okay, so Atheist Junior has joined us. What's up, AJ? How you doing?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, just hanging in there, chilling out.
Cool.
What's on your mind?
Oh, well, I think a certain person in the chat said that you wanted me to join this call. A certain mama. Because
Oh, Big Bad Mama did. Okay.
yeah, because we messaged. She, we have a good time.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, your people are always welcome. I get. Oh, in the context of, I guess, it was in response to folks saying that somehow I either didn't understand or was just gish galloping throughout the entire debate, and
no, I don't necessarily think that was true. Unless, did I say that, or other people are saying that?
I think other people.
Well, I think you made a few kind of allusions to that in the debate, but in post debate, no. I mean, that was most people in comments and such.
I will say that I think you made a fair point when you were saying that the debate was supposed to be about evolution on trial and us presenting evidence for evolution, and you guys sort of trying to poke holes in that. And I agree with that. I think that maybe me and Snake weren't exactly on the same page on that. If I could have redone my intro to have a little bit more of the court cases about evolution in it, rather than just the ID trial, I think I would have. So I think that that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, I blame Snake because he's the one who challenged me to a debate.
Yeah, I don't even know. I just got. I mean, what was it? I think it was Sunday. James texted me, or was it Friday? I forget what day it was. Like, hey, do you want to do a debate on Tuesday? And it's like, yeah, okay, fine, I can do that. So I didn't even know what the backstory was all this, but I saw evolution on trial. Like, okay, fine, let's do it. And that's why I was so irritated pre-show at him trying to not act like y'all were taking the affirmative, and then somehow you wouldn't. It's like you have no idea, AJ. In this past year, I haven't done many, but 2020, 2021, I did a crap load. I did like 50 something debates. And one of my other things I find very irritating is all the, I don't know if you were here when I was reading comments and stuff, but about all the folks talking about like, why is creationism, ID never on trial and stuff? It's like, I personally engaged in a plethora of those debates and was, dogmatically told that you're taking the affirmative. You've got to go first. And it's like, that's the standard thing in debate. Taking the affirmative, you go first. And him trying to like be a little smart aleck about it. It's like, nah, bro, we're not going to start off this with a bunch of, BS shenanigans from the very beginning and like acting, non
I mean,
kosher.
It was kind of silly. I mean, if he didn't care about going first, I mean, it was kind of a silly thing. It's like, we didn't come here to debate that, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I didn't come up with the title. That was James who made the title.
Well, the thing is that I was a little bit. I told James I didn't think that this was a good topic for a debate because it's not phrased as a question and it's not asking. It's very vague, and he told me, well, the topic's already been agreed on. So I said, okay. But the thing is that Standing for Truth has been doing this debate series for a while now, and where it's been evolution on trial. And on that one, it's been about trying to poke holes in evolutionary theory. But then I started hearing people say like, no, this topic means evolution like in the courtroom, like when is it actually been in an official trial? And it was just confusing for me, so I wasn't sure what the actual topic was related to that. So
I get you. It's a more literal interpretation.
Yeah, and I do think asking from Sunday to Tuesday, that's pretty short notice, and I was kind of busy like the day of, and so me and Snake didn't have time. Usually I like to meet up with somebody who's my partner the day of the debate, and so we can go over our notes and sort of prepare and we didn't get a chance to do that because I was trying to contact him, and he didn't get back to me until a little bit before the debate started. So, that I think we were a little bit out of sync in the debate, but I think it went well. It was fun. It was a little bit of a clusterfuck, but.
Well, yeah, I was trying to contact LPP before the debate too, but he never got back to me either. I was like, damn.
Well, I think James needs to give people a little bit more time to get ready for debates. He asks pretty quickly before it starts, I feel like.
Yeah, he's been pumping them out, like a lot of them lately, isn't he? Like daily now.
Well, when did you... Okay, so this was initiated between you and Snake, is that correct?
Well, Snake challenged me to a debate, and I was like, sure.
Okay, well, then what happened? You guys reached out to James or something to host it, and then he turned it into a tag team?
Yeah, I just like messaged James on the side chat, because like right then and there, like, okay, you can do this.
Well, I think that it seems that there's been a lot more tag teams versus one-on-ones these days, and I'm wondering if tag teams are being more successful for him, like in terms of the channel.
I prefer a one-on-one because not a fan of the battle royales and the squads because like AJ said, sometimes you don't get to share notes and aren't on the same page.
Yeah, and I felt like the moderation was not great because there was a lot of over talking. I even told Snake at one point, like, hey, let's not over talk each other. I mean, I love Snake, and he's my partner. He did a great job, but doesn't mean I can't be a little bit critical. I think he did great. I thought his opening was excellent too. But I feel like James, maybe he's trying to go pump these debates out, and maybe he's focusing a little bit more on quantity over the quality of the debates. Because the last debate I did, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was a tag team with me and Mark Reed against Sal Cordova. And
oh my god, yeah, I remember that one. And I just gotta say, Sal got screwed over by being tag teamed with some loon, which I'm pretty sure was like some sort of flat earther. So this screwed Sal over on that debate.
It's not a flat
I think
earther, but I don't think. But
yeah, I think you get. Yeah, I think you and Mark won the debate, mainly because Sal's partner was so dang awful.
Yeah, well, see, me and Mark, we got the chance to meet, to talk on Discord before the debate and figure out what we were going to do in our openings. And I felt like we were able to work together as a team a lot better than Sal and Eric were, because Eric just seemed to want to talk endlessly, and he didn't really seem to care about Sal or if he got time to talk or not. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that.
But
so AJ, what's your position on in that debate that the point that Sal made in relation to the bush versus tree in relation to like proteins?
Well, I'm not sure about proteins, but I have heard this.
Well, that was specifically the point that Sal was making.
Well, what was he asking? Like,
well, the point he was making was in relation to evolution, that they're seeing, sometimes orchard models used, or the this kind of the bush, I think was the analogy he used, but that there's not this universal common ancestor from a protein perspective, and that they're finding greater and greater amounts of differentiation. It appears to be all these different starting points, right, versus a singular starting point. And obviously, given the fact that proteins are fundamental, if there's all these different starting points, then why would that not be more indicative of the kinds concept versus universal common ancestor?
Well, I would say, because I've seen this model of the orchard versus a tree of life. It's like the orchards are you have a bunch of individually planted trees that have roots that go down, but the trees don't connect to each other. And I don't know if I agree with that, because we can see based on DNA testing, which would be reflected in these proteins, that there are these connections between individual trees. If you want to call like a tree like a species, like usually they talk about orchards being like dog kinds.
Right, but the point that Sal made in the debate, and he expressly, and I've watched this with him, but which he expressly referenced in relation to conversations he's had on the topic with Dr. Danny Boy, who agrees with him, and that there is rapidly growing agreement in academia that yes, on the protein family side, it does appear that there is the orchard model, bush model, whatever you use, is evidential, like from an evidence perspective, is looking more and more the case. So,
well, if that's true, I don't know if that means that genetically it still shows that you have an orchard of animals that aren't related to each other genetically, because I think that that's what is shown when you do tests of a genome. And you could even if you want to say that these results are influenced by geneticists who are biased towards evolution, you can plug these same results into a computer and it'll print out trees the same as that have been created by the geneticists. That's these life forms are connected.
I'm just gonna read something from Big Bad Mama. LPP, come on! You said you're gonna keep it mellow. Yeah,
right now, I think this has been pretty mellow myself. I'm being pretty chill.
I mean, I'll level with you. I don't know shit about proteins. Like I really, when it comes to these type of debates, like a lot of the stuff that Sal was saying, or the type of questions that Stupid Horror Energy asks, they just go over my head because I don't know the terminology. I personally think that I like to debate about the simpler subjects, because I think in these debates, it's cool if you want to get into the more specific scientific aspects of it, but that would be a better question for somebody like Dr. Dan, because he's got an expertise in that I just don't have. So I like to look at the more broad subjects of the evolution debate.
Okay, it's fair to say, like, it's fine to say that's not my strong area. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the your honesty about it. My question to you would be, if per your own admission you don't have the knowledge, then why do you claim that make assertions that somebody like myself doesn't understand it?
I don't
how would you know that a point that I'm making is true or false, or relevant or irrelevant, if you per your own admission don't actually know the details yourself?
I think that was more Snake who was saying that than AJ.
Well, I'm saying both of them at this point. Now, in fairness to AJ, it might have just been in the heat of the moment. I get it. Firing comebacks and whatnot. But I mean, I've seen you kind of take those kind of positions before in the past on a variety of things in other debates, and it's like, so I'm being serious here. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Right? I'm not trying to be a jerk. For quick backstory. So from my perspective,
okay,
if I don't have some pretty fundamental understanding of a concept, I'm not going to enter the arena and have a debate with somebody over it unless I have some general understanding, because I'm not going to know if the argument is being put forth by my opponent. If I don't know what the heck they're talking about, how can I actually have a realistic discussion with them and be a fair interlocutor?
Well, I agree with
you.
But
if I don't understand what they're talking about.
That's why I don't enter into debates about genetics specifically, though. But
the
broader subject of evolution, though, I think I have enough of an understanding to talk about that.
Yeah, because the debate that what's called Eric Sauer and Sal and AJ were on, it was the evolution on trial. It wasn't specifically about genetics or protein.
And hey, I honestly, I just debate and do YouTube for fun. So if I come on here and I make myself look foolish, that's on me. But that's it's a risk I'm willing to take, because I enjoy the argument. I enjoy debating for the sake of debating, and I feel like the way to get better at it and to learn these things is to keep doing it and to be challenged by people who are smarter. or who know the topic better than I do, even if they're on the other side of the subject, and I might disagree with them on something. That doesn't mean I automatically think that they're unintelligent. I think somebody like Kent Hovind doesn't understand evolution very well, but that doesn't mean I think everybody who would be on the other side is like that. You know,
That's funny.
You
That
ever
was
heard
really funny.
you ever heard the saying the truth lies somewhere in the middle? I mean, at what point do you say maybe some aspects of evolution are not true?
well, I mean, I think that there are arguments about the specifics of evolution and about which animals are closely related to each other, like which group you would put a certain animal like a warthog or an elephant in. And then scientists have been wrong about that before. But science is an ongoing process, and they don't always claim that their answer they have right now is ultimately right. And we know that we're right. The truth is never going to change on this, which is something that Kent Hovind says. But it's an ongoing process where if scientists are corrected on something, then they're going to be glad about that. So I think that I said in my opening that while there are disagreements between scientists and evolutionary biologists about the minutiae about different evolutionary topics, they still agree that it happened and that it's still happening.
Well, that seems a bit circular. Like, just because somebody says something's true doesn't make it true. And so you're just holding these people on a pedestal. And you shouldn't do that, because that's a bit cultish, let's be honest.
It's different if you have a consensus of people who are qualified experts. I'm not saying that automatically makes it true, but I think it's more likely that it's true versus just people who are laymen agreeing that something's true.
AJ, have you ever heard of what's his name? Richard Feynman. He's a very famous physicist. He's been dead for a few years. Quite a few years, in fact, but he's a Nobel Prize winner, worked on the Manhattan Project or one of those nuclear projects around World War II. But he made a profound statement to me. He said, science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. Now, why would he say that?
Well, scientists talk crap about each other. Scientists will talk crap about each other a lot.
What he says is the experts tend to crowd the field, you might say. They control the narrative.
Well,
so that sort of keeps everybody else out of the picture. If some little kid comes along right out of just got his PhD and comes up with a bright idea, if it doesn't fall into what they believe is true, then he's sort of shoved aside. Now that's what happened to Max Planck early on. And that's why he made that statement that to get a new evolutionary theory into science, I'm paraphrasing, he says, you have to wait for those that oppose it. You have to wait for them to die because they control everything. And Feynman understood that. I think a lot of scientists understand that there's more that ideology controls science, not the data. And that's what we object to, or I object to.
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody's denying that Richard Dawkins has a PhD, but we can't also ignore that he's being dogmatic about this and has his personal alternative motive to push this, basically an agenda.
Okay, so I'm very curious. AJ, I got a question for you. So have you ever read like Antony Flou's There Is a God?
No, I'm not
brilliant,
familiar with
brilliant book. Brilliant.
Okay, so do you know who Antony Flew was?
No, I don't think I've heard of that name before.
Okay, so he is a extraordinarily famous philosopher and was actually a major player in the growth of evolution. He was the original, either the original instigator or the original promoter of lacktheism way back in the day. Okay, major player in the evolution world, or sorry, in the atheist world. Sorry, he debated like C.S. Lewis and like big dogs. Okay, he was a big time player. Like I'm repeating myself, but I mean big time player. Okay, in his I think either like early 70s, early mid 70s, somewhere there. he was some different, peers of his, PhDs, explained to him the complexity of biological systems, DNA, all this kind of stuff, right? And he didn't convert, to my knowledge, he didn't become a Christian or anything of that nature, but he abandoned atheism after being one of its main proponents his entire life, both privately, personally, and professionally, because he recognized just how ridiculously illogical it was to conclude that there was not something else responsible for our existence at the ultimate root level. And
that
he
was
ended
a
up
big deal. That
Yep.
was a big deal.
So he went from being like the king of the crop to he has this shift, ends up writing Why There Is a God, and like the title, it's like Why There Is Not, and then like not is scratched out and replaced with and like immediately he became the ultimate villain. Like, he must be senile, he's lost his mind. How could he? I mean, the only way he could possibly have converted to this abandoned atheism is that he just must not understand all this stuff. He's just lost his mind, right? But if you read his book, it's like it's clear he had not lost his mind, because he presents this, like, it's a pretty short book, but he presents like a full-scale cumulative case as to why he is no longer an atheist. By the way, I'm pretty sure he's the guy that came up with like the No True Scotsman, or like, again, was a major proponent of it. So I mean, big deal. He died in his like late 80s, I think. But anyway, I would strongly recommend you read his book, because it might put a lot of things into context for you of why folks like myself give a lot of atheists grief, because somebody like Anthony Flew, who you can't claim wasn't qualified, ultimately recognized how illogical his arguments had been based on the evidence that is available to us now. And it wasn't necessarily available when he was young and becoming, going up the ladder in the atheist world. But once it was now available, it was like, oh, this is a ridiculous point or position to take. And then since he died, the amount of evidence that would further substantiate the point has just been exponentially increased on a regular basis. So anyway, I say you might want to take the time to read it. And part of the reason I asked this question, by the way, was I've asked similar questions to like Mark Reed, and ended up getting him to admit that he's never read any of these books. So he does, and he is also formally rejecting the arguments that are being made without ever having read them. And I'm just hoping that you're not going down that same rabbit hole of not actually, investigating the alternatives, but then still categorically rejecting them.
Well, I always use this question on atheists. Atheists, if we are right, let's say you are wrong, wouldn't it be true that people like Amy Newman and Mark Reed are just manipulating you and just tricking you into thinking that there is no God, and ultimately trying to take away, basically getting you to end up in hell? Wouldn't that just make you a useful idiot? And these people are just taking advantage of you, if we're correct?
Well, I came to the conclusion of identifying as an atheist before I ever knew about Mark Reed or Amy Newman.
Well, people like, I'm just using them as an example. We could use Richard Dawkins.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read like an atheist book and decide I was an atheist. It basically happened when I was really young, and I was just sort of never convinced in the first place. I will say maybe I should clarify my position a little bit. Maybe that would be better, because I will say that when it comes to like man-made religions, like within like, our own planet of Earth, I'm atheistic towards those. When it comes to outside of that and the observable universe and the greater universe, and however big that is, I have to say that I am more of an agnostic, because I can't really say that I know that there's no God in that greater context. But
I was the same way, AJ, until I was about 25. I believe something started it. I just wasn't sure what it was. The universe I'm talking about.
Well,
and then, but then God hit me over the head, almost literally, but not quite, and let me know that, hey, I'm real. So Well, anyway,
Well,
that's my 2 cents.
well, to like the point of like the truth might be somewhere in the middle. Don't you think maybe you should probably move towards like maybe pantheism? If you're not like a, because I'm sure you wouldn't identify as a Christian. That's not what I'm going at. But if you think,
I would say no, just because, when it comes to a religion that actually affects me on a day-to-day scale, it would be Christianity, because I live in the United States and we have a lot of politicians who are devout Christians, and they make decisions about the laws that they pass based on their biblical beliefs. And that stuff can affect people like me or people who I know. And so it's more important to me to do atheist activism about Christianity. It's why I don't really debate Muslims, because it's not really something that's in my wheelhouse. And also, I don't know as much about Islam. I haven't really read the Quran like I've read the Bible.
well, just because
Hang on, I'm going to inject on that. So, AJ, what is your knowledge of how things are operating in Islamic-controlled countries?
Well, I know in like Saudi Arabia, they have Sharia law, although the phrase Sharia law is kind of redundant because the word Sharia means law. But they have a patriarchal society where men are in charge, and they are in the dominant position of control in society and in their marriages. And, the government is a theocracy, which means the religion of Islam and the government are linked. Pretty much.
Well, I do agree.
I was meaning more in relation to like the differentiation in terms of freedoms in those societies and the decisions that are made in those societies from a control perspective in relation to the United States, as an example. Like, do you think it is more free or less free in Islamic controlled countries versus the United States?
I would say less easily, especially if you're a woman or gay or an atheist or Muslim.
Yeah, but I think what AJ is getting at is the corruption between these institutions. Is that correct, AJ?
Well, I think there is corruption, but I think it's an inherently flawed system, just because, I don't agree with having such a sexist system and such a, fascistic system.
Well, I wouldn't call it fascistic, but because I mean, it wouldn't be any different than being in the atheist communist tyranny. I mean, you're going to find corruption, whatever government you have, and whatever religion or non-religion, you're always going to have corruption among the system.
Could I make a generality on that, Bubblegum? All central planning governments, that's whether it's Islam or communism, socialism, central planners are, you get a bunch of people who think they know everything and they make the rules for everybody else. And that's what America's turned into, by the way, to our detriment. It's going to be a real disaster if it ever reaches 100%. But the purpose of the Constitution was to take the government, I'm quoting a liberal, by the way, a Democrat, Supreme Court Justice, William O. Douglas, who said the purpose of the Constitution is to take the government off the backs of the people, or keep the government off the backs of the people. Now, in other words, it's anti-central planning. That's the way the Constitution was set up. Well, central planners like Hitler, Stalin, Sharia law countries, all dictatorships, those have very few people making the rules. And since they have so much power, they can enforce their rules on everybody. Whereas when you have an open system like America was, where all the states, each individual state had most of the power, and the federal government had very limited power, it used to be that way, then if you didn't like it in one state, you could just move to another one. Well, you can still do that. But what I'm saying is each state was responsible for like the police, In fact, James Madison, the one of the framers of the Constitution, they call him the father of the Constitution. He was concerned about democracy more than anything, because democracy is just people, a coalition of people, voting without, you can take, this guy hates that group and this other group hates that group, and they coalesce and make rules. Democracy, 51%. Well, he was concerned about that in America, because he said pretty soon you would have the power of the police and all the education under federal control. Guess what happened in America? Now education and the power of the police is under federal control. And he said, let me try to quote him. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. He said, democracies have ever been spectacles of contention, have ever been not contrary, that's not the right word, but to the rights of the people and the rights to property. In other words, and they have been as turbulent in their life or whatever as they have been violent in their deaths. And I think you can find that in the Federalist Papers. But the founding fathers just despised democracy for that very reason. Guess who likes democracy or liked democracy? Karl Marx, because that was a means to the end. Once you can get people coalescing like that into, this big, large group of, well, I hate you and you hate me, but we really hate this other guy. Once people start doing that, pretty soon it just destroys everything. And instead of having a nice, stable society where people get along and people are friendly and you don't have to worry about your house being locked, that kind of stuff, like it was when I was growing up, suddenly it turns into an armed camp with everybody watching everybody. Everybody turns into a bunch of busybodies. So our Constitution was only made for a moral people. That's the problem with the Constitution. Once corrupt people start to take over, then they don't care about the Constitution. It's like toilet paper to them. They try to figure out ways to get around it, which they have. And
now it's gotten to the point of they're just ignoring it outright.
Oh, totally. Yeah, they laugh at it.
So AJ, I'm curious. Have you ever read like Madison's notes on the Constitutional Convention?
Those are the Eliot debates, right? Is that what they are?
No. Madison's notes on the Constitutional Convention are literally Madison's notes on what was going on. Let me see if I
have those in my
throughout the convention of where they were like the 5 months, whatever it was, they were actually writing the Constitution. He was keeping notes of what was discussed, the topics. It's very fascinating. But anyway, have you ever looked into those? Are you aware of what I'm talking about, AJ?
No, I did watch this series that Ben Shapiro did. I used to watch him, where he would go over the Federalist Papers. He would look at a different one each week, and I watched most of that. But I'm not familiar with what you're saying, and I am actually going to have to log off soon. I have to get up early tomorrow. It's been a fascinating discussion, though. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
See you, Bubblegum.
I was Bubblegum leaving too.
I wasn't. I was talking to Big Bad Mama.
Yes. Well, AJ, the reason I'm bringing that up is, you were talking about how Christianity and religion is just being foisted upon the society, all this kind of stuff, right? Are you aware that there's actually a dramatic reduction in people that go to church, that believe in God? Also, there's a very dramatic amount of that, and there's a significant reduction in the overall influence of religion on our society. Have you been following that, or are you thinking it's the reciprocal?
No, I think he's only talking about his.
Let him respond to the question. Nobody interrupts.
Well, no, I have seen articles from Pew Research. I think I tweeted some of them talking about how church attendance is at a very all-time low. And I think some of that may have had to do with COVID and people being stuck inside. But I don't know if I agree that the influence of religion on American politics has shrunk. I think it's stayed fairly steady, at least in the Republican Party.
I think. Do you live in the Bible Belt? I'm guessing you
hang
live
on.
in the.
I do. I do.
Okay, so again, we're talking about from a national perspective, right? So, I don't think that's true, on the state level either. But in terms of a increase, it's definitely been decreasing, and it's like documented it's been decreasing. But on the national level, you actually think that it's gaining influence?
I said that it's kept the same, basically, that there's always been this influence. I wouldn't say that it's shrinking. I don't necessarily know about gaining, because
On the
we had
national
eight years of Obama.
On the national level, we certainly lost influence. But
I mean,
maybe, but
in
yeah,
my
you can.
state, they just limited abortion to only after 6 weeks, I think, and they're trying to ban abortion in my state. I don't want to open that can of worms, but
yeah, I can see the Bible Belt maybe, but that's probably the only strong point.
well, they would like it to be that way in the whole country, the Republican politicians.
Yeah, but look, even despite they are hypocrites in the creationist camp, that doesn't follow that that should be as an excuse as to deny God.
Look, I don't think I said it was.
Are you? Out of curiosity, do you live in Georgia?
No, I live in South Texas.
Okay, South Texas. Okay.
But I really have to be jumping off, guys. I appreciate it, though.
All right. Have a good night, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Later.
See you, AJ. I looked up in my database on Madison's notes, and the only thing I found was just a summary, I guess you might say, of how they wanted the Constitution to proceed. And I believe he gave it before the Virginia Assembly. What I was talking about is there's a fellow named Eliot. I don't remember exactly when he lived, maybe but anyway, he compiled from all of the debates a big long volume. And I think it's like, well, let me look. I'll tell you exactly how many volumes because I have it in my library. But that is some fantastic reading. See, Eliot debates.
I'm just gonna hop off too. All right, later.
Hey, man.
See ya. It's I have 5 volumes, and then I have 5 more volumes. So it's a total of 10 volumes. And it actually goes like this guy said this and this guy said that, and just the whole debate as much as was written down by people. And I think Madison actually kept those notes. I believe what you're talking about was a speech in the well, maybe not. He gave a real.
What I'm talking about, Madison literally took notes on each day of the Constitutional Convention.
Right.
What was discussed, who said what was argued, decisions that were reached, why different things ended up being put into the Constitution, and
right. That's what I'm talking about.
Things that were not. It's extraordinarily fascinating. If anybody in the audience who doesn't know, well, even if you appreciate the Constitution, you want to read it because it will put things in much more context and will make you realize that the founding fathers had thought through a lot of things and accounted for them, and there was exquisite purpose in why the language was placed in the way that it was, and their understanding of human psychology was fascinatingly on point. And it will also make you very, very aware of how so many of the talking points that we hear ad nauseum from the supposed experts are either the result of them being stone cold liars and gambling that the average American is unaware, or that they are brainwashed, useful idiot pawns who somehow are, lawyers supposedly in constitutional law and are unaware of these things because of so much has been erased from our education system. But to claim that, oh, well, they had never thought of blah, 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 blah. Like, really? Between Madison's notes and the Federalist Papers, yeah, they had accounted for a lot of the stuff. And if you read them, you'd be like, oh, are these guys like time travelers? Did they know that this sort of thing would happen? Because they sure as hell thought about it and considered it and tried to come up with ways to prevent it.
It's brilliant, brilliant man.
Okay, so audience, I'm calling it a night in
Okay.
5
Me
minutes
too.
and 33 seconds. So if anyone wants to join, link is in the side chat.
John, I'm gonna go to bed. It's way past my bedtime.
I would appreciate you joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You have a great night. Well, I guess we'll call it a night here momentarily unless anybody joins and wants to say anything. Yeah, I mean, hey, the conversation with AJ was interesting. It sometimes seems like a nice dude and have good combos and whatnot. Seems more open-minded. And then of course he gets triggered by Kent Hovind and gets all worked up. So I don't know, maybe it's just his personal peeve. But AJ, if you are listening, I would recommend that you read things like Antony Flou's Why There Is a God. You read some of these the works of these different individuals who underwent paradigm shifts. And because so many of them do not fit the mold that is argued ad nauseum by modern atheists of, oh, they were brainwashed as children. It's like, well, many of them either rejected it as child. I think if I remember correctly, I think Antony Flou's father was a preacher. I mean, and then his son becomes a just outright antithesis, an anti-theist, right? And then rejects it all, and then ultimately later on in life realizes like, oh crap, this, but still did not go to religion, which is the irony. But there's other folks like we're talking about David Berlinski and such, like he's rejecting evolution, but not flipping to any specific religion. Not even going to theism necessarily, but more in the, hey, there must be something. I just don't know what it is yet. And, this just continues to grow. And when you go down the rabbit holes and take the time to go investigate, things become more and more interesting. It's kind of like the Louis Pasteur quote. I'm not 100% verbatim here, pretty close. When you start learning about science, you turn away from God. When you go a little bit further and deeper, you come back to him. In a recognition of like, okay, cool, on the surface level, as a human, I'm understanding all this stuff. Oh, wow, I don't need a God for this. You don't need a God for that. And then you keep going further and further. And it's like, oh, shnikes. Maybe I do. Maybe God is necessary, because this is just not even remotely realistic to be having to be accounted for unless there is a God. And this goes back to to Romans, talking about the natural world has revealed everything to humans, that there is a God, not necessarily which one, but that God exists. Therefore, humans are without excuse in relation to whether or not they accept or reject that God exists. And that ongoing talking point, I've heard so many times, most of you in the audience have heard over and over again of, if God exists, then I would already know. And I would be shown everything that needs to be shown to me in order to believe. However, these same individuals freely admit their own ignorance, and also their reticence to go and investigate further for themselves. I will not go and read anything that challenges the status quo and threatens my worldview. I refuse to go and do so. However, there is nothing that's been shown, that's available to me to know, that would convince me. But I'm going to refuse to go and analyze the evidence that potentially would challenge my paradigm. I really wonder if there is just a complete and utter switch off of all rational thinking when it comes to atheists and the necessities for their existence. But that's just me. Anyway, in that light, folks, looks like it is time for me to actually call it a reasonable night. We're coming up on 2 hours. Folks, I'm actually being somewhat responsible tonight. I don't know. Last night, I'd gotten up at 4:45, and I think it was like 2 something when I called it. And I'm just like, man, I've been up for like 19, 20 hours. Did a debate, done an after show. I'm toast. Got to pass out. So I don't even know if I want to go and watch what happened after I fell asleep. I'm sure there was a little bit of dumpster fire action and probably some weirdness going on in the side chat, but whatever. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that joined and stuck around so late. Sea Science Film Labs, Michael Smith, what's going on? Pure Aussie Gold. I know. Well, you're on the other side of the world, so it's like early evening for you. So Christoph, I know you're a hater, but hey, maybe you'll read some stuff one day. And no, SSFL shouldn't have been. Oh, never mind. He's there. Now, Kron was here. I'm not sure what happened with him afterwards, but anyway, guys, hope you have a great night. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great day tomorrow. Be productive. And ultimately, as you are contemplating the fundamentals of your existence, make sure that the conclusions you reach are logical, plausible, and probable. Have a good night, everybody.